every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. A high-definition broadcast on Facebook, focusing on camera line tutorials with our Chief Screening Officer, Paul Richards, and our social media manager, Tess Protesto. Back to the Basics Live. New videos every Wednesday.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Back to Basics.
My name's Tess Protesto.
And I'm Paul Richards.
Today we're talking about some crazy networking stuff.
Yeah, so today we wanted to do basic networking. This is something that it really seems like magic in our everyday lives. How does, iPhone control a camera? Or, I think I have this one being controlled. Or how does your computer talk to the internet to talk to the other cameras that are on the network? So we're going to talk all about networking today, and it's going to be a pretty much basic overview.
Okay.
And then next week, I'm hoping, or the following, we're going to have a more advanced networking strategy there. We'll probably bring in Matt Davis, and we'll talk about multicast and what that means. And we'll talk more in depth about NDI cameras. But today, it's going to be a very basic networking overview, and we've got a little video. We're going to play it, and we're going to answer all your questions. And I have to run at about
like 15 minutes.
About 15 minutes. So we're going to get right started. And I did want to go ahead and throw out one Facebook Live reaction question, if anyone's out there. Do you have a network switch? Sad face if you don't have one, and wow if you do. And we'll show this in a little bit, and we'll talk that over. You can see we also redid our live chat, so it's a little smaller, a little bit more compact. Looks like I might need to make it a little wider because it's not fitting the long chats there.
Hopefully that'll be more well appreciated.
So we're gonna I'm gonna throw out some things that are probably new to you, Tess.
They sound
maybe
a little
you'll become a networking expert
today, but I'm ready to learn.
So setting up a DHCP IP video network, before we even get into wireless and PoE, DHCP is basically something that comes with a router, and what that does is the ability to assign IP addresses to different devices.
Okay.
So a camera would get a static IP address. A computer would get an IP address. An iPhone would get, any device that's connecting would get an IP address.
All right.
So you have to have DHCP in order to get that. Then you also need a wireless access point to get the Wi-Fi. And then PoE stands for Power over Ethernet. That's how you can power our cameras, the SDI models. So this is kind of what a connectivity architecture for network switches looks like. And it all starts at the modem and or router. So the modem, which is, nowadays is really a router, connects to the internet service provider, whether it's Verizon or Comcast, wherever you're paying for internet all day long, connects to there, and then to those connects switches. And the network switches are what allows you to connect a whole bunch of different devices.
Okay.
So that's what we have. Actually, the cool thing about what we have right in front of us right here is this is a Linksys E1550, and it actually is all-in-one everything. It's a router with DHCP, it's a network switch, and it's a wireless access point. So these are really great for, and I'll just zoom into this just a hair, for setting up a little live streaming system, because you could very easily have 4 cameras on here.
Yeah.
Wireless control of them all, and send them all back to your computer. But technically, you'd have 3 cameras plus 1 for your computer, so you might only have 4.
Right.
So you might want to maybe buy a little bit of a bigger one. But that's a really cool little product.
What's the point of the internet one?
And then there's one more there. Tess is pointing out the internet. That would plug in directly to your modem or the internet from the outside.
So you would still need a modem?
So you'd still need a modem to plug into this. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So you'd get that from Comcast or Verizon.
Is that why we weren't just receiving internet from it when we had my computer plugged in?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So there's no internet attached to it, and you don't have to have internet attached to it to use it. So you might just be doing a video production. This is cut off a little bit, so I'll show this a little larger. One of the things a lot of people is new to, and this is new to me, is that IP addresses have a certain range to them. So that 192 there, that shows that it's really a local IP address. There are such things as outside IP addresses, and basically you have your local area network and the wide area network. And the local area network usually starts with 192.168, and then this 111 is like an IP range. And in order to talk to devices, so let's say there's 3 different devices. The last .2, that's really the unique number. Everything else would have to be the same for the devices to be able to talk to each other.
Okay.
So that last number, it might be .68 or .70 or .100, all the way up to 255 would be the unique static IP address for each camera. And we're going to set that up today and show how that works. So that IP range has to be the same on your computer and your camera. So don't forget to have your user guide, because when you want to log into your DHCP switch, you're probably going to want to have, there's going to be like a default username and password that you're going to want to log into your router if you need to. Everything might work out of the box, but you probably are going to need a router to get all this done. And let's see, one person says they do not have a network switch, and 4 people are saying, yes, we have network switches. So most people have them now. Not to have the one person out there without one feel bad, but maybe you should get one.
It wasn't me, but I don't have it.
So this is kind of a basic setup here where the cameras are connected to the switch, your computer is connected to the switch, although your computer could be connected wirelessly if the switch like this has a wireless access point built in, and then we've got the iPhone connected wirelessly.
Okay.
And then the iPhone can now talk to the cameras because they're all connected.
So via Wi-Fi?
Yes. So we can also add power over Ethernet. Now this Wi-Fi switch here doesn't have power over Ethernet, but if we just add a PoE switch and connect it, this is how networks are built. There might be 20 PoE switches or 20 switches that are all connected to each other with maybe a fiber backbone, but there's usually only one router that's giving everything their IP addresses, usually. So you can attach a secondary switch that can provide power over Ethernet for the cameras. It doesn't change the architecture too much. As you can see, we're actually just adding more ports to the switch, and we're adding power over Ethernet ports. Now, I'm going to show wireless camera control in a second here, and what I want to do is actually show a quick video that's going to take us through how it's all set up. So the first thing we're going to do is connect the camera. And this camera's power over Ethernet, so as soon as we connect it, without it connecting anything else, it's on, and it turns on.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to plug this camera in. This camera is our USB model. This does not have power over Ethernet. So this model actually it needs extra power, so I just turned it on. Now here's the switch that we're using. So we are going to plug in 2 cameras and my computer, or your computer, Tess, to this switch.
Okay.
So each one of the devices will be plugged in, and then because it already has wireless, all we have to do is log into the wireless with our iPhone or our iOS device in order for that to work. And I'm going to pull up the chat so we can answer questions throughout this process as well. Here's the chat. And of course, you can plug it in your computer as well. Do not use 1 or 255 for cameras, as those are usually assigned for gateways. Very good point, Mike. So right here, I'm logging into this Cisco router, and just like Mike said, .1 is the router. So that is the gateway for all other devices. And this device has DHCP enabled, so it's going ahead and doling out all of the different addresses. Now, one of the things you can see here is that these fields are editable, and that 111 is my IP range.
Why do we sometimes edit the IP addresses?
Well, because we want them all to be on the same range. So if, for example, the cameras were on 100 and my computer was on 101, they wouldn't be able to talk to each other. I don't know why that is, but it just is.
Changing the IP address to that same 111 would allow you.
Mm-hmm. And so what I just did here is I brought up something called command prompt, something you probably never want to look at, Tess, because you don't need to go into here. But if you go into command prompt and you type ipconfig on a Windows computer, this will go ahead and show you your computer's IP address, which is showing it's 192.168.111.122.
Mm-hmm.
And that 122 is the unique address of the computer. It's on the range of 111, and it gets that IP address from the DHCP router. And the default gateway, as Mike Malata was mentioning, is right there. So that just tells us, because sometimes you might want to just double check what your computer's IP address is to make sure it's in the same range as your cameras. And now we're going into the PTZOptics upgrade tool, we hit the search button, and we see, oh look, both cameras are showing up. So these both have unique IP addresses. So we've got 162 and 88. Now 88 is the default IP address. And normally we want to go ahead and set a static IP address that's custom. So just for this, I'll change it to 87. Because if we had, let's say, 5 cameras that were all set to default, they'd all have the same IP address.
Then you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them.
Yeah, and the cameras wouldn't know the difference.
Makes sense.
So we give them all unique addresses. And when I go ahead and refresh and hit search, it's going to show up with that new IP address, 87. And now we can go ahead and type it into the IP address at the top here. By default, the username and password is admin, and now we can log into the camera and we can go ahead and change different things, pan, tilt, zoom, control. So from here, we're pretty much done. We've plugged in the cameras, we've set up the network, we double checked the router, and we changed the IP address of a single camera. So you could kind of rinse and repeat there and go forward. So the last thing that we haven't shown is what I want to do, and I'll just turn it to play, is now I'm going to set up my iPhone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to settings, and this would be the same for an Android or something like that, and I'm going to go into Wi-Fi, and you can see I have Cisco, hopefully you can see that, Cisco 008. So that there allows us to, now that I know that that's connected, now I can go into my pan, tilt, zoom app, and I can go ahead and you can see I'm controlling that camera right over there. Can you see that? It must be, the pan, tilt, zoom settings must be quite slow. Let's turn them up. I love this app. It's so good. And now you can see it's moving right over there. And I can go ahead and control this camera as well. So with just a basic network switch, this switch is totally off our local area networks. I don't think Matt Davis wants me messing around with our local area network.
Certainly not.
You know how IT guys get with messing with the network that they spent so long setting up. So this is completely separate. This is on our network, and that's pretty much the demo. And unfortunately, I'm leaving Tess here to answer questions. What time is it?
I might
2:03.
Anybody with a complicated question or question I don't know the answer to, just
Like
go to the
write them
user
down.
group.
Or the
and
user
we'll
group,
get back to
yes,
them later
that's a
today.
good point.
So basically, these are options for controlling our cameras with your computer or over the network. For those that might be in speculation of that, like we just got that Facebook message from the guy the other day that was asking for options on controlling his PTZOptics camera, via his computer instead of a joystick or remote control. And this would be a way that you could do that.
And it really opens up, because for me, this was kind of new even myself. It's not magic when you have, multiple cameras and things like this. It's not magic. There is, it kind of feels like it especially when Wi-Fi becomes part of the equation.
You're like, where are all of these signals going?
How is it all being set up? And this is like less than $100 WAP. It's called a wireless access point, but it also includes the DHCP router, which is that's the one thing that you're definitely going to need is the DHCP router. This has a built-in 4-port switch, and then it's got that Wi-Fi. And Tess and I went and we live streamed a concert in the summer. Remember that? And one of the fun things about it was, one of the things we did is we ran all SDI and we ran all serial cabling, and we used this joystick here. I'm not sure if they can see that, but we used our serial joystick controller because that's what I was comfortable with. Networking is kind of new to me, and it was kind of like a gray area. But I really wish that we could have powered the cameras over Ethernet.
Next time.
We could have had the switch here. And now, knowing how easy this is to have set up, we could have used the iPad app for control. We could have, one of the things I really would have loved to do is tie the preset positions in vMix to the IP addresses so that we could we could use playlists and automate the cameras, and we could use a blank stinger. I mean, there's so much you can do when you get into the IP world. So I really wish that we would have done that, but I didn't really know how. So this is new to me. And I know it's new to you. Hopefully each week you're learning a little bit more.
This was helpful.
I think it
Definitely
was.
helpful.
I think it was pretty
I felt
straightforward.
like I was kind of sticking with you.
You
the most
stuck
part.
through it, and I think it was great. And then next week, what I'm hoping is to go into the advanced IP control or IP stuff. So how to use multicast, and really quickly what multicast is, and I'm not an expert, is it allows the camera to send a single IP stream over the network, and it doesn't matter how many people are viewing it. It could be hundreds of people. Imagine in a school where they're broadcasting the elementary school or something. One stream from the camera and everybody can view it, no additional bandwidth.
Nice.
As opposed to unicast, where it's like on demand from like Comcast. As soon as you open up that stream, it's its own stream of bandwidth, and each person has to add additional bandwidth until the whole network gets clogged up. So that is where we're going to be talking about next week. I'm going to make that just a little smaller so it fits in there. You should just add that you do not want 2 or more DHCP servers on the same network. Yes, that's exactly why I never connected this DHCP server to our main network, which I kind of had
why?
that. I was tempted to do that because basically the DHCP server is what goes out and assigns IP addresses to all the different devices. So if you have another one that's going out and like trying to recognize, and there's what's called an ARP table. Matt Davis, this is a little sheet that he made for me to explain it to me this morning. Let me see if I can show this. This is because, again, some of the newer stuff for me. This is actually how he wrote it down to explain it to me. And this actually explains something that I was kind of interested in. So basically, this is like a very basic architecture. At the top, you see the DHCP switch. In the center, you see the switcher, or the switch. And then you see maybe like a camera and a computer connected. And what happens is the DHCP router creates what's called an ARP table. And that table is all the IP addresses, all the devices, all the MAC addresses, and how and where it's going to send all the traffic. It's the ultimate, table of all the devices that are on the network. And that he was explaining to me, sometimes when you put the camera on the network, and you hit the search for it and it doesn't show up, and you're like, well, why isn't it showing up? It does take a little bit of time when you plug the camera into the network switch to get to the router, to have it assigned and put into what's called the ARP table. And so that could take 60 seconds. And in the world we live in today, where like 60 seconds feels like 2 hours or something. So you have to be careful, but that is kind of how it's all working, and I think we did a great job of explaining it. I have to run now.
Great job, Paul. Thank you for that.
So I'm going to go ahead and play the credits, and Tess is going to do her best to answer questions. And I know there's some guys out there that know more than all of us. Maybe they can help. But thanks for watching.
There he goes. He's off. Bye, Paul. Good luck. So it's just us, guys. What's going on? I hope you enjoyed today's Back to Basics show. Where's my tally? I'm on my own to hang out for a little bit, see if you guys have any questions that I am able to answer. I'll do my best for you. Unless you guys just want to hang out, talk about the weather. Hopefully you're all safe from all the hurricane problems that have been happening here in the U.S. So let's see what's going on. John Lynn says the last IP 255 is not gateway. It's broadcast, a very different thing. Sounds like today's topic has a lot of knowledgeable viewers in the audience for me today. Is there anything else that Paul didn't say that I should be keeping in mind learning about IP protocol and networking and all of that sort of thing? Because I could use any pointers that you guys are willing to share with me. When comes the NDI upgrade? The NDI upgrade is out and released. You cannot purchase, well, you can purchase the upgrade if you have a Gen 2 SDI PTZOptics camera for half price, which is really good, and you can contact sales about that. But the NDI cameras are not shipping yet. I believe they're going to be shipping later this month or beginning of October. So stay tuned for that. But we have announced our NDI compatible cameras. Richard says if you have 2 IP addresses on the same network, it will slow the network down. Can you go over all that Paul talked about? Tommy Willis, you're tough. Tommy Willis is tough. Like I could repeat everything that Paul just went over myself. Okay, so Giles is giving me a question. What is the answer to the meaning of life and everything? The answer to the meaning of life. You guys are being easy on me today, aren't you? Just focus on family. That's what I would say. John, our table is populated with MAC addresses by the use of broadcasts. Jeez. Each device will maintain its own ARP table. The ARP table thing was kind of confusing to me at the very end. That's like way out of my league after today's just first initial learning experience. Hewitt says, I'm on the list for the upgrade, but didn't hear anything. Did you contact sales, Hewitt? Because if you have your PTZOptics Gen 2 cameras, you might be able to get that upgrade if you haven't already. Or pre-order it, should I say. Pre-order. You're not going to get it tomorrow if you purchase it today, I don't believe. When will there be a 3-camera system for churches going to be available for purchase? We have a 2-camera PTZOptics kit right now available for purchase. That's the producer kit. It comes in 1 camera or 2 camera packages. I'm not sure when we will have a 3-camera system available or whether that's in the works. I don't get that, high profile information. All right. See what else is going on. ARP table is basically a phone book list of all the devices' physical MAC address. Spec package. Tad small. Daniel said his teacher. I'm sorry, Daniel. Too many broadcasts. Too big a network will cause excessive broadcasts and degrade. Okay, so the ARP table is basically a phone book list of all the devices' physical MAC address. Okay, that puts it into kind of perspective. Better way for me. All right, so since you guys are just hanging out with me and having fun and educating me, I think that it's safe to end it here. So thank you guys so much for hanging out today. If I didn't cover anything that you wanted to be dove more deep into, head over to the Facebook user group at facebook.com/groups/PTZOpticsPals. Go ahead and post a question there. Once I find out the information, will get back to you. And if not, Paul or our other friends and community in that group will help you out with that. Thank you guys so much for bearing with me today through all this confusing and very new to me networking topics. So we will see you guys shortly. Gonna cut the stream. Have a good one, guys.